Great. I am live. Okay, what do we have here? Essa merda do meu computador. Telemóvel. Foda-se. Oi, ah, agora testar o som. Som. Agora testar o som. Som. Agora testar o som. Som. Então, mas o áudio e o vídeo estão com atraso. O áudio. Então, mas o áudio e o vídeo estão com atraso. O áudio. Ok. I'm just gonna share the link, guys, for the live. How can I share it? I don't know. Just a second. Agora ver como é que eu vou fazer isto. Foda-se, não acredito.
touch pretty well. So, sorry guys, I'm just trying to share the thing. Oh, he's not even seeing. Okay, I'm just trying to share the link to the live here, but it's not working for some reason. But it is correct. I don't understand. What? Why does this not work? What? Sorry guys, I don't know why this is changing the link that I'm trying to send. Keeps getting changed. What the hell? Oh well. Anywho. Let's just get on with it. Alright, so what is going on guys? Welcome back to my first time live streaming, at least in this format. I hope you guys are doing well. If there's any problems with the audio or the video, please write in the comments. I will try to see and to reply in the as fast as I can. So we're going to be looking over the two competitions that I did recently, which were the French Canopy Piloting Open and the Pink Open. I went to both competitions and they went awesome. We're going to review a little bit the training strategy that we had for the competition and also what actually happened. So we're going to start with the French Open. Now, to preface, you can see here on my screen I have all the months that I jumped, which I was pretty current. However, I was not able to jump that much with my personal canopies that I use for competition, which is the Petra installed on the Mutant. So I was a little bit nervous that I didn't feel too current with a Mutant. However, now after the results are in, it was actually pretty good. So let's start here. In the middle of July, we had the competition in France. I had 3 days of training, as you can see here. I actually went with 4 days of training, but I got unlucky with the weather, you know, so there's that. We did, I think, 7 plus 7 plus 7 jumps, or 6 plus 6 plus 6. I've been finding that doing 6 jumps is easier for me to learn and to improve than to do a lot more jumps, like 10 or something like that. So I went with a little bit less jumps than usual. 6 to 7 jumps on a training day was what I was aiming for. And then I do 1 day of zone accuracy, 1 day of speed, and 1 day of zone accuracy, 1 day of speed, and 1 day of distance. Now, the actual competition itself. Here is the order in which they did the competition. They did distance first, then they did 1 round of zone ac, moved on to speed, and then 2 more rounds of zone ac. And this was mostly due to the weather, but also some of the competitions now, they're not really being done finishing in the power rounds, let's say. So if people are tied, there's not a risk that someone's gonna try to go super fast to get a score better, to climb up. That would be better to be done like in zone accuracy, for instance, because zone accuracy is not about power, it's about control. So that's what they did here. We finished with zone accuracy. It was not the case in the Pink Open. We still finished with distance, but that was fine. So let's start off with distance. I was a little bit nervous, but the training went well, especially with no weights. It's really easy to fly the Petra, the Mutant with no weights, at least for me. So we start off with distance. Now, I believe the weather was pretty chill in France. Like, it wasn't windy at all. I'm going to try to skip forwards and we're going to look at the windsock. So the windsock is over there. As you guys can see, It's a perfect downwind. Not that much. There is a little bit. You can see the water is moving, but it's not that much downwind. So here I'm doing my turn, and I think distance went really, really well. This is perfect. This is exactly what I want for distance. Something that I really, really like about these drop zones, France, for instance, where we carve to the right, is the fact that the setup for speed and the setup for distance is really, really similar, and I can use very, very, very similar approaches. If speed was to the other side, for instance, a left-hand carve, I would have to enter like this for distance, and I would have to enter from the other side for speed, which is going to be more setup points, more things to confuse me in my head. Not that ideal. Regardless, look, this is perfect. This is the approach I like to do for distance. I aim for the outside gate, and I come in at like a 30-degree angle. And the trick with a mutant, in my opinion, what I've been finding out is it's always better to be deeper than to be too tight. Because if you're too tight, it's really easy with the mutant to have too much of a downward trajectory, and then it doesn't really recover. It just crashes into the water, and it's not a hard crash because you're going quite fast, so it's never a big crash. However, it's never ideal that we are crashing into the water. So, soft touch. We still carving a little bit to keep the canopy in the course. However, when I feel like the power is not that much, I can go back straight and then fly over the exit gate, and went to like 162 meters, which was pretty good, in my opinion. Boom, there you go. So first round was done, and the first round being good already sets up everything to go well. If you have a good first round, the competition is going to be good. So it was a nice first round. It was 165 meters. Let's watch maybe the outside angle to see the touch. This is Kai, and here I come. See, we want the touch to be like this, as smooth as possible. But notice how my butt is quite close to the water. See that? That's what I need to do to fly the way I fly. We're gonna see about that in a second. Let's see the approach. Sorry about the noise, it's the plane landing from the last load. Boom. There you go. And this is 86 kilogram exit weight here. See? Approach angle, touch, and fly away. It's perfect. However, the 55 being a small canopy, it's not going to benefit so much from the downwind as the bigger canopies. But still, I only took one canopy because I didn't want to have to vary too much what type of canopy I was going to be using. Let's move on to jump number 2, which was the second round of distance. Now, I just, because of the conditions didn't change, and I did well on the first round, I maintained everything when it comes to setup points and whatnot. I only changed a little bit my body position to be gaining a little bit extra speed. However, I can guarantee you that these extra little meters that I went from 165 to 182, they weren't necessarily because my technique improved. They were more because the wind picked up a little bit. That's the main reason. However, 182 meters with not that much downwind. If you see on the windsock, it's not that much downwind, and 182 meters, I'd say that's pretty good. Not too shabby. Again, 86 kilogram exit weight. Very happy with that result. Here's the outside video. Let's just put the snap, boom. And now, my recovery arcs are a little bit long, but that's just how I fly. And that was perfect. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Now, last round, I was chilling like a villain, man. I had the setup points pretty well figured out. All I needed to do was bring the speed. I could have leaned back a little bit more here to try and build more speed, but again, I'm still just trying to figure things out with a 55. It's pretty sensitive, so I don't want to underestimate it, basically. And you will see that the little troubles that the 55 brings when it comes to having heavy touches. This was awesome distance. Again, 165, 182, 175. I'd say that's beautiful, especially for not using any extra weights. Now, let's go have a look at zone accuracy. We did three jumps in one day, then we moved on to zone accuracy. I had done 2 training jumps of zone accuracy, and because this was the first competition of the season, I really felt like I was rusty in zone accuracy. However, I think we still did pretty alright for the conditions, at least. Not for the like weather conditions, but for the overall training possibilities that I had and etc. Alright, so a little bit of headwind, but almost nothing. And we had 84. We could have gone a little more for 91, but you know, you always could have gone a little more. Blah, blah. It's always like that. Not much that I can say honestly about zone accuracy, because I'm just trying my best, man. I'm not that good anyways. So the wind is slightly crosswind, and because I'm using a relatively big canopy, at least for my weight for this type of competition, 69. See, I'm coming in from the right for 2 reasons. First, so that I can time the touch really well with a buoy, and second, so that I'm not fighting as much. If I'm going from this side onwards, I'm fighting the wind a little bit more. This way, the wind is actually helping me go into the box, which is pretty nice. Boom. Now speed. You guys know I love speed. The most dangerous rounds. The good thing here, again, the fact that the setup points, they're pretty similar between speed and zone ac. The only thing between speed and distance. The only thing is this distance I'm a little bit deeper. Speed here, see? And what happens here? This is always happening. This is always happening. And let's take a look. Why? It's a problem of the setup points of speed and of distance being the same. It's a double-edged sword. Why is it a double-edged sword? Because, yes, the visuals when it comes to the setup point are similar. I remember my setup point was about this road over here. So you will see more or less this will be the center of rotation. Maybe here. But I remember this was my reference. So as you can see, I'm rotating with that on the center, that road. Right there. Right here. And then what happens is, because I'm used to the visuals for distance, because I had finished with distance in training, and I did distance first in the competition, my head was still kind of wanting to feel like I'm flying distance. So I let the recovery arc go really deep on the entry gate. See? Here, I'm deep. I'm close to the water even. And that's good, because it means you really get the entry gate. However, you cannot carve this low in the course when you're going below 2.0 seconds. Otherwise, you're going to clip this buoy. So what happens is you have to kind of boost up and carve at the same time. And guess what's going to happen? You're almost going to vert. So I had to put my leg out like this, and I still went pretty close to that buoy for sure. So I put my leg out just to make sure I get the exit, and I get G4. I'm risking it. Yes, I'm risking it. But it needed to be done. And as you can see here, we fly pretty close to this G4 inside gate, which is not good. Don't do that. Because if you clip that buoy, you're going to get hurt. Let's see from the outside. You can clearly see that I went super deep on the course. See? My head is below the buoy. I want my legs and hips to be below the buoy, but the rest of my torso and my head, I want it above the buoy. That's the perfect line, at least in my opinion. Because then what happens is you go up, see? Going up, and I have to put my leg inside to keep it in. And I still fly pretty close to that G4 there. Alright, so that was a fast run, but a dangerous run. I'm not proud of that, and neither should you be if you do that. If you're flying dangerously like that, there's nothing to be proud about. Yes, you're going fast, but the trick is to go fast and safe, not fast and fucking tumble through the course. Boom, second round. I went a little bit tighter because I knew that I was going low because I was deep. And when I'm deep, I let myself go low to really get the gate, but that's not good. Here I was a little bit tighter, and I just break the beam with my hips, and that way I can manage the course like I normally do, which is the best and safest way to manage the course. As you can see, Only my hips from my belly button down is below the course. See? Inside the course, I mean. The rest is outside. Oh, but then you run the risk of verting. Yes, but I don't care. If I vert and I'm alive, I'm happy. If I vert and if I don't vert and I crash, I'm not that happy. And you'll see on the outside camera, you can clearly tell that the line is much smoother. Check it out. Boom, 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 boom. Perfect. You don't even need to carve that much. See, I'm passing G4, I'm barely carving. This is the perfect line. You come in, you break the beam. See, if you draw a line from the buoy, blue buoy, which is the inside G1, to the line of the white buoy, which is outside G1, it goes just with my shoulders above the line. So my hips and my legs are breaking the beam. That's what we want. That's what we want. See how smooth we're flying. And we're still inside the course. We still got the score. It was a slow score compared to the other one, yes, because the winds died down a little bit. Not necessarily because, oh, you're slower. No, this is still fast. I beat the world record doing with this technique. See, there's no need to go super deep on the course. This is what you want. That is a perfect line in my opinion. And then again, like I said, guys, once you start getting the motion, everything becomes much easier. Once you start getting it, like the rounds, they're going well, you got the setup points figured out, all you gotta do is repeat, repeat, repeat. All I tell myself is, believe in yourself, you don't need to change anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. And that's also what I did here. Here I was a little bit tight, but that's fine, I got it. The thing is, because I'm a little bit tight, what happens is, I finish the turn, I snap, still gonna do another one, there you go, and I snap. And here I'm a little bit tight. Look at my hands. I let the canopy fly, and now I give it input. See? So for like a second, the canopy's diving down, killing, losing speed, and then I start to use the rears. So the canopy is not going to drive out of the recovery arc with nearly as much power as it would if I started using rears smoothly and right away. That is the goal. Smoothly and right away. Not right away yank on the rears to go fast. No, you smoothly feed in the rears. Here I had to let the canopy dive down towards the ground to be able to make the gates. However, when I do, the input is much greater. Okay? Notice what I'm doing here. Finish the turn. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, I start using the rear risers. Now let's look at another one where this other clip, the other round, sorry. Finish the turn. 1,000, 2,000, I'm already using the rears. See? Because I was tighter, I had to use the rears later. Because I was tighter. However, when you're tighter, you use the rears later. What ends up happening is the input that you need to that you do isn't as efficient. So the canopy is going to dive down a little bit more. And see, even after I broke the beam, so even after I entered the course, I'm still going down in the course, which isn't ideal, but I still managed to make it work. If you're trusting the rears a lot, and you're like, I gotta make it, I'm tight, but I'm gonna make it anyways, you might crash, you might kill yourself. If you're at a level where you don't make that much of a mistake, where you might be too tight, but you're not that much tighter than you need to be, it's still manageable, as you guys just saw. I was tight, but it was still manageable. However, in a situation where you're allowing yourself to go tight and use the rears last minute every time, one day it's gonna go poorly and you're gonna crash. So it's good to be able to recognize how your canopy behaves, how it flies, etc. But it's also good to know when to pull back. And in this case, I don't think I necessarily needed to pull back, but I also didn't fly super slow. That's for sure. Rears, boom, 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 and it's done. And again, not much that can be said about the wind conditions, because France, luckily, the winds are pretty chill. See, at least for the competition days, they were pretty chill. Now to finish off the competition, we did 2 more rounds of zone accuracy. Nobody gives a shit about zone accuracy anyways. No wind, or slightly crossed, but doesn't matter. But notice how the technique here is a little bit different. Remember when I did the first round of Zonac, the wind was the opposite. It was headwind, it's coming a little bit from the right. And I put myself to the right, because the wind was not strong, but it was significant. There was some wind. You could see the water full of waves. So in that situation, because the wind was a little bit strong, I wanted to use the wind to push me into the landing area, into the box. In this case, the wind is coming a little bit from the left side, but it's very slower, and it's not cross head, it's directly cross. So what I do is I come from the opposite side of the wind so that I can slide into the box using the wind to slow me down. Because in this case, the wind is not strong enough to be a problem. It's actually going to help me slowing down and standing up the landing. On the other jump that you guys saw, the wind was crosswind from the other side, but it was cross head. So I needed to go on the right to kind of help me out a little bit with maintaining speed. So in here, it's to reduce speed. In the other round, it was to maintain the speed, basically. Oh, and I didn't even show it. Lol. Okay, there you go. Got all the gates. Up, 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 and 91. Oh, no! So, here, when we're in this moment, you always think, okay, how was my pop-up from the water? If the pop-up is very gradual, normally you have a lot of speed and then you're going to crash into zone 9. The idea is, when you're sliding out of the water, you slide and then the canopy goes slightly behind you and it stays here slowing you down, and then just as you're getting into the box, the canopy will overtake you a little bit, repressurize ever so slightly, and then shut down into the box. And in this moment you need to decide, am I going to try to stand up on zone 6 and get a 91, or should I go for the box? Because if you can stand up on zone 6, you can get 91 points, which is awesome. And likely if you have 91 points, you're going to be able to win the competition. At least zone accuracy. Normally, unless you have super good guys, but if it's a normal competition, if it's not the like Pink Open or World Championships, if you have 391s, you're going to be pretty high up there in the scores. But you need to decide, am I going to go for 91 or am I going to try to go for the box? And then if you go for the box, if you fall in zone in this zone, it's 90 points minus 10, so that's 80 points. If you fall in zone so zone 6, 7, 8, and then center zone. So zone 7 or zone 8, if you fall, you still get like 90 points. So from 90 to 91, it's not a big difference. However, if you fall to zone 9, which is the zone in front, you lose a lot of points. So that's not what you want. I decided, because the conditions were fine and I didn't have that much horizontal speed, I decided to go for at least zone 8. And as you can see, my feet went outside of the tape, and then my knee, boom, I put my knee down. That's what took me my points. Still got a 90, it's awesome. Wait, it says here 86. Huh, I didn't have 86, that's 90. Maybe I wrote this wrong. Maybe I wrote it wrong, but this is 90 points. Because it's, no wait. Oh, sorry, no, it's 86. 90 would have been, oh, okay, so sorry guys, I'm saying this all wrong. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake here. What I meant to say was, in this moment, if you get stand up zone 6, you get 91 points. But if you fall on any of these zones, you're going to get less. Even if you fall on the box, which is really, really rare to happen. Normally you fall and you use more space. You're always going to get less. So the best case is always to stand up in the zone 6. That's the best case. That's always what I aim for. If the conditions allow, I try to stand up in the center. However, no, that was not the case, so this would be standing up a 96 instead of a 91, but because I fell, it's actually an 86. It happens. Alright. Now moving on. Last round. Here I kind of told myself, hey, let's stop trying to mess up. Let's stop trying to be a hero. Let's just go for 91 points, which is pretty smart. And I did a mistake that I do a lot. I killed a little bit too much speed, because normally when I was younger I was lighter and I didn't have enough speed. But now I have too much actually, so it's taking me a few days to figure that out, or a few seasons, let's say, to figure that out. So I was coming a little bit too hot, but notice the windsock is pointing to the opposite way. It's crosswind, it's not head cross like the first round. It's cross, but it's very light. So I'm still coming in from the right side to drag at the diagonal, kill a little bit of the speed, and then pop into the box. So here, as you guys can see, I'm coming in a little bit. Here I'm actually coming center because there's pretty much no wind. But I'm still doing a little bit to the right. And then up, 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 up. And Boom. The feet just before the tape. See, this is always what I do. I bleed off a little bit too much speed, and then I'm a little bit behind. So, yeah. From here to here, it's a big difference. 7-point difference from 84 to 91. So, better luck next time. It happens. All in all, it was a fun competition. I didn't get hurt. We're going to watch the outside video real quick so you guys can see what I mean. Here, I noticed I had a little bit too much speed because, again, full power, balls out. So I had to go on toggles a little bit earlier. Still got all the water gates, and then I popped up, and I had just a little bit less speed than I needed. This wasn't a good example of a Zonac run. This is a good example of a Zonac run. Here's a good example. Rears, touch the water, and then just after G3, I go on toggles. Sorry, just after G4, I go on toggles. And look, I'm using the canopy to like boom, brake and go up at the same time. It's right behind me. And now when I get on to the peak of my parabola, I start to look down to the box, and then I let the canopy go forwards a little bit to repressurize. And I do a little flaps, but you don't need to do that. And boom. That is the perfect technique for Zonac. Took me years to figure that out. Years, Habibi. Years, fucking years to figure that out. But now, I finally did. I figured out zone accuracy. That was my training plan from the get-go. Everybody says that I'm good at speed. I'm not good at speed. I just looked at the competition scene and figured out a way to train so that I would get good eventually. And I knew the thing that would take the most to get good at was speed and distance, because you have to have a small canopy, build power, etc. I noticed Zonac, my first competition, I wasn't that much better than I am now. If you look at the distance scores and speed scores of my first competition, I am much better now. Zonac, I'm not that much better, because even on the first competition, I was doing pretty good. So I noticed that Zonac, yes, it's a lot of training, but it's a little bit of luck also, in my opinion at least. Especially with all the wind deviations that happen from time to time. Now, the situation here is that I fucked up in zone accuracy a bunch. And it was, again, this is going to sound like excuses, but it was mostly due to gear errors. I didn't pick the right canopy, the right weight. Now I kind of learn how to bring the power even if I'm doing a big turn. Also, the training method really affects the way you fly. Last year, I did a lot of blind mans, and I practiced a lot like leaning forwards the year before and last year, which does not it's not a useful skill for competition. Being able to lean forwards right after the recovery arc was really good a few years ago. Now it doesn't matter. So I trained a lot leaning forwards, and leveling out the canopy while leaning forwards is much different from leveling out the canopy while you're holding the rears normally. So I fucked up in the training sense, but I forced myself to only train using the mutant in normal mode, not in supine mode, because I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm using the mutant for Zonac. I don't care what anyone says. The mutant works great for Zonac. You can come argue with me about it. We can go and do a zone accuracy competition, and you can come. If you beat me by a long shot, then I will start using a normal harness. But I've done 100s with the mutant, and I've done awesome scores. I believe that this competition was really good, and Pink Open was also really good. I got like 91, and then one I didn't have 91 because I fucked up one of the gates. The mutant just works. That's it. Period. Now that you guys understand a little bit the training method, what I do is I don't have a pond to train in. However, I have the canopies and I have a plane that I can get in and do as many jumps as I can within reason. And so I don't do training jumps that much, but I want to train as much as I can during my free fall jumps. Since I had the Cypress Fire, I couldn't jump the mutant as much for free fall because I have it off. I can only do like hop and bops with it, and occasionally I do a camera flying jump with it, like without the Cypress, which is not good and you shouldn't do it. But camera flying, I trust. If I'm doing free fly coaching, if I'm doing AFF, anything that involves someone close to me that I don't have full control over, I don't do. But and in even tandems, like I don't really do it anyways. I sold the 59 also, and now I have the 57 assembled. So with the mutant, while I'm here, the only thing I can train is turn, period. I don't have anything else I can train. So getting the turn nailed here, and especially my body position, both on the mutant and on the normal harness, or the mutant in normal harness mode, was key because everything was figured out. I figured out how to bring the power, maintaining a position that I could touch the water right after, okay? So because I trained that a bunch, I was able to have a little bit better performance in zone accuracy. That's the only reason. And hopefully in the World Championships, we can get even better performance in zone accuracy. That's my goal. Now, we're going to move on to the Pink Open, which was in August. And before I start, I'm going to answer some questions. I see there are questions over there on the screen. So, first things first. Someone's called N Adrenaline Hunky. Cool name. Cheers, bro, by the way. Thank you for commenting and watching the live. Any thoughts on coming out to the US to do some coaching? Yes, I'm going to be in the United States, in Arizona, in September. From the 4th to the 14th or something. And then I'm going to go to Idaho for base jumping on the Idaho Bridge. This year, I'm not going to the US for coaching. However, I would love to do coaching in the United States. If you guys are interested in me coming out to the United States to do some coaching, please let me know, because I do that in Europe a lot because the plane tickets are cheap. So let's say a plane ticket costs 300 euros. If I have 3 students, I divide the price 100, 100, 100, and then it's going to be the price of the coaching plus 100 euros. It's not that bad. However, in the United States, normally the tickets are like 1,000 euros. And so for me to go, I need to have a few courses at least. So yes, I will go eventually, bro. If you have like 10 people interested, shoot me a text and we can make it work for sure. Because I love to travel and I love to coach as well. Second question, we have Lucas. E aí, mano? Tudo jóia? He said, hello, I'm Lucas. I live in Santarém, Western Pará, Brazil. Lucas, there is also a town called Santarém in Portugal, by the way. Thank you, obrigado. Falo inglês mais ou menos, médio. Se tiveres alguma questão, diz-me. E eu acho que vou ao Brasil em breve. Ou em breve, se calhar para o ano, devo ir ao Brasil, em março. Talvez, para dar coaching em Boituva e mais umas opções. Alright, now we're going to move on to the Pink Open. We have here the scores. And as you guys can see, I am here in 7th place. 7th, actually my favorite number. Yeah, 7th. What happened, Gonzalo? We're gonna have a look, but I can spoil you. I fucked up on the last round. On the last round, I was battling for 2nd place. Or 3rd, sorry. I was battling for 3rd place. I was in 4th. I tried to go, you'll see. Let's start. Training. Here I was gonna start using the extra weights because I needed to use the extra weights before the competition in, what do you call it? In Arizona. So I did 4 days of training. One of them was raining, the other one was raining, so I was left with a lot less training than I expected. First day I did 2 jumps of zone accuracy, second day I did 1 of zone accuracy and all speed, third day I did a little bit of speed and a little bit of distance. Luckily, I was having a lot of trouble nailing the recovery arc. I'll tell you why. But luckily, like I was saying, in the end, I got it to work out a little bit. So like last day of training, last minute I was getting the scores, but in the beginning it was a little bit tough. Why, you ask? Well, let's have a look. Oh, pink. How we love pink. Pink is like Monaco, you know? There's no outs. You either swoop or you crash into trees. And here, as you can see, when I'm finishing the recovery arc, my line normally goes in here. See? This would be my line normally. But I'm not doing that line because there's trees in the way. There is trees in the way. Yeah, there's trees in the way. That's pretty crazy. So we had to swoop right next to these trees. It affected me a lot negatively, of course. I just couldn't focus. Every time you see, I'm like, before I finish the snap, I just let the canopy go to the right a little bit because I'm scared of the trees. I'm flying so close to them. So, first round, this was my mistake. I remember. There were strong uppers, and I couldn't really make the setup like I wanted to. So I had to kind of botch the setup, but still, made it work. just when I finished, I was like fucking deep. I was like, oh, I'm so deep. So I let the canopy fly into the gates. Zoom, zoom. And that was so slow. I was so sad. However, I got good news. The sensors didn't work for me. So I got a re-jump. Ain't that amazing? So I went and did the re-jump. And the re-jump went pretty alright. I can still go, I knew I could still go a little bit faster. But I had readjusted I didn't readjust my setup point. I just did exactly what I needed to do. But what happened was, because I had been training distance the day before, I was still going a little bit deep. And because I went like super deep, see, I almost touched the water. I even touched the buoy a little bit, because normally the buoy passes here under my arm. But because I was super low, I touched the buoy a little bit. And then, again, same exact thing that happened in France. I had to carve and kind of throw her over, but because I didn't want to carve too much, I had to go up and put my leg out. Boom, and I got the exit gate. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. Then we went for the second round of speed. And I think it was pretty similar. I was a little bit tighter, so this time I didn't have to go as deep, but I still went pretty deep on the course. But I wasn't nearly as tight. And this time I actually touched a little bit this inside buoy. But again, this is mostly because I got, like, I don't feel like I'm coming in at the angle that I want to because of the trees. The trees really negatively affected this competition for me. But we made it work. We had to carve a little bit more. Because we had to carve a little bit more, I had to put my leg out. But still, we made it work. That's what matters. And then we went for the third round. And I thought, okay, let's just go really, really, really fast. Okay? Like, let's put down a really good run. So, I did exactly what I had planned. I came in, put a relatively fast run, and I was really happy that I finished speed, because I'm always worried that speed I'm going to clip a buoy and crash. I even prematurely celebrated, saying, oh, nice, nice, nice. I got... speed is done. Speed is done. Well, guess what? The sensor didn't work again. Now, check out the snap. I snap half, see? And then I kind of let the canopy go to the right, because man, if I don't do that, I'm going to crash into the trees. Check it out. See here? I let the canopy go to the right. If I'm coming in here in this tree, this is where I need to be for the perfect line. But I can't be there, otherwise I'll crash into the trees. So here again, super deep, but still put a score. And this was the re-jump that I had. So I thought I don't want to make a fool of myself by verting the re-jump. So I went a little bit deeper, and I got a little slower score. But it's fine because I still had the score. Then we moved on to distance. I was super nervous about distance, guys, I'm telling you. But I was happy that we were going to do distance, because I thought to myself, you're always coming in deep when you're doing speed. So now that you're going to do distance, all you need to do is do a similar setup point, and then the water is just going to come to you. So I went slightly deeper, because I want to give myself plenty of time to touch the water. Boom, touch the water, made the exit gate, and then even had time to put my legs up to create a little bit more of a upwards push, let's say. Pretty sweet. So that was good. I was happy with that run. Again, the trees, man, they're not ideal, but they're there. See, because some of them, like, they're taller, and then I'm colorblind, so I can't tell the difference from the brown of the trees to the green of the grass. It's just crazy. First round went great. I noticed that the wind was like lower, let's say. So I thought, I want to go a little bit tighter. If the wind is 0, if there's no wind, I want to go a little bit tighter. I want to see what I can do. So here I believe the wind was also like 0 wind. And if the wind is 0, I was doing the setup here. If the wind was like pushing a little bit, I would do the setup here. So yeah, there's pretty much no wind. Boom. And notice, because I'm a little bit tighter, I'm letting the canopy dive, and then I'm pulling, and it's not such a long recovery arc, like going forwards. It's like going down. So that creates strong downwards movement, and then the touch tends to be a little bit heavier. When the touch is heavier, my butt touched also. I don't know if you can see. Like my feet touched, but then my butt touched a little bit also. And then I had to put my legs down to make the exit gate. As soon as I made the exit gate, legs up and go as far as possible. And I went like 178 meters. Pretty sweet. Again, they didn't send us with a lot of downwind because they were scared we would make it past the end of the runway. Here you might be able to see me touch with the butt a little bit. See? Big, big, big. Oh, sorry. Big touch. So this first touch is with the foot, and then the rest is with the butt. And this touch with the butt sends me up. Like those rocks skipping, you know? So then we moved on to Zonac. And Zonac, I had done a little bit of training, but it had been a few days since Zonac. Like, it had been like 5 days, because this competition is so big, it takes a while. So we went for Zonac, and as you can see, it was like cross downwind. As you can see, you can't really tell, but it's coming from the right, but it's a little bit downwind. So I had a lot of speed. I tried to slow down even with my feet, but what happened was I missed gate 4. I then was able to crash basically into zone 6 and the center zone and got zone 6 down, but I didn't get the exit gate and the gate 4. And gate 4 is worth a lot of points, so that kind of, you know, instead of having like an 80 something point run, I had a 50 something or 60 something point run. It's like it really crashes the scores. I think you can see on this video maybe a little bit. Like, as you can see, I'm trying to slow down as much as possible with my knees and everything, but then I lift it up a little bit too early. And this happens when I'm trying to go really deep on the water. I tend to put my knee also accidentally, of course. And it's just not good. Because then you're going to relieve some of the pressure and the energy that's going to just pull the canopy up, and you're going to miss the gates. But I knew what I had to fix. I just needed to go a little bit deeper. And also the wind calmed down. Like, it was 0 wind after that for Zonac, so it was a good day. Boom. See, I'm much deeper and there's no wind. And boom, textbook. Textbook. This is textbook. The only thing here I would have done probably different is I would have tried to be a little more aggressive with the pop-up to bleed some of the horizontal speed, converting it to upwards energy, and then I would like basically slow down and boop into the box. Because here, see, I still have a bunch of forwards momentum. If I went for the box, it would be okay, but it's too much forwards momentum and you might still fall. So this for me, it's a textbook zone accuracy run. Textbook to me. Water early, drag, toggles, pop up, and boom. Now, if I were to go a little bit tighter, just a tiny little bit tighter, very small little bit, I would have more energy on the pop-up, I would have popped up more, and so here, like, I'm still going close to the box, but if I had a little bit more speed, I could have, like, used the canopy not only as a sail to transport me into the box, but also as like a little, like, drag mechanism, let's say. That is the best option for Zonac. Alright, so guys, we're gonna do the last 2 rounds now. So if you guys have any questions, I'm gonna answer all of the questions when I'm done with these 2 rounds. So if you have any questions, you can start writing them down and I will answer them afterwards. As you can see, I didn't have a look, but speed, we did pretty good. We got 3rd place. Nice, I'm happy with that. And zone accuracy, let's take a look at the last round of Zonac. Again, textbook Zonac run before, I just thought to myself, let's repeat it, so that's what I wanted to do. Or that's what I tried to do at least. Didn't change anything, the weather was still the same, I didn't change the setup points. I just went and tried to do exactly the same jump. I might have been a little bit deeper here. Because I was a little bit deeper, I just went forwards into zone 6 instead of going up and down, having a parabola shape. That makes it so that I have a lot of horizontal speed instead of having enough power to like slow down and stop. So yes, when you leave the water, you have more horizontal speed. When you leave the water for when you have more speed, but that speed is going to be converted into lift. Whereas here, I leave the water with less speed, but I need to maintain that speed to be able to make it to the zones, zone 6 and center zone. So that's the difference. Sometimes more power is not going to make you go forward far more. It's not going to make you go further. It's actually going to be the opposite. You're going to convert it to lift, and it's actually going to help you slow down. And finally, distance. So here, you have to put yourself in my shoes. The wind conditions had changed a little bit. I was in 4th place, just 5 points in difference with Marcus. And I knew I could go further than Marcus. All I needed to do was put down a good score. So I fucked up. Basically, when I finished the turn, I was too high and too tight because of the wind. I had made some changes to my turn. And just this difference. Normally I was waiting a little bit before I snapped. So here I would hold just like half a second and then I would snap. I didn't hold this time. So not only was I a little higher because I didn't hold before the snap, but I was also tighter. So I had to like snap, and when I finished the snap I noticed that. So I stopped the snap and I let the canopy go to the right. And I had to dive it down and input the rears last minute. Because I'm doing all of this last minute, what happens? Too much vertical speed and not enough horizontal speed to lift the canopy up. So the touch on the water was pretty heavy. And then after I touched the water, my butt touched the water as well. And immediately it sends me back up. So I put all my force, I put myself forwards. I tried to go down with my legs, but I flew right over the exit gate. So I got a big fat 3. Not a 0, it's a 3, but it's a 0. If I had gotten this score, I would have gone to like a 190. And I maybe could have gotten 3rd place. Maybe not. Who knows? Past is past. All we know is that we got 2nd place. No, sorry, 7th place. That's what we got. Is it good? Yes, it's good. Could I have done better? Yes, I could have done better. Everybody could have, would have, should have, etc. The competition is done, and I survived. This competition was with 96 kilograms exit weight. So now, what's next, guys? We're going to go for the World Championships. The World Cup, sorry, and European Championships. We're going to try our best. We're going to do the same training strategy that we've been doing that's working. And the conditions are hopefully going to be better than Klatovy, so I'm not going to be as focused on the trees and whatnot. Overall, I think it's going to go a little bit better. Or at least I hope it's going to be a little bit better. So, that's been it for today, guys. I don't have any new questions here. So, I'm going to finish the live. Let me check these things here. Okay, this doesn't even... whatever. Okay. So, I think that's been it for today, guys. I will see you soon. Hopefully for the debrief of the Arizona World Cup of Skydiving.